You are an artist when you decide you're an artist. I've sat with hundreds of artists and healers and broken people in their moments of crisis. And what I found is that most people are unaware of what drives their decision making, what brings on their reactions, or even their own self destruction. And so I found different patterns that have come along within this. And today I'm going to share with you 5 signs that you're a shadow artist. Now, you know the person. It's someone who's at all these different events. They show up, they help you organize, they launch, they do everything except for themselves. And they don't keep anything for themselves. In fact, they haven't made any of their own art or written a short story or penned a poem even in years. And so that's because artists and healers have something in common. They don't ever quit. They just stop doing what they're good at. Part of that is the problem that feels a lot harder for people to do art, to be creative, or feel like they have the permission or license to do it without this pressure to monetize whatever it is that they do. Now, Julia Cameron, the author of The Artist's Way, The Spiritual Guide to Creativity, well, she calls them shadow artists. And I call them people who are one decision away from doing the thing that they're good at. When it comes to the 5 signs that you're a shadow artist, the last one is the one you want to see. Now, before we get into the 5 signs, I want to share with you what the definition of a shadow artist is. And for many of you, this may be the first time hearing it. And for others who already know the term, most usually only half remember it. Now, Julia Cameron introduced the concept in her book, The Artist's Way. And her definition is a shadow artist is someone who is drawn to the arts, but they're afraid to claim the artist's identity for themselves. So they orbit the art instead. And this is the person who's become the manager, the editor, the coach, the teacher, the publicist. They live within the creative world without ever being at the center of it. So in some cases, people are so afraid of calling themselves artists that they reluctantly take these roles of playing on the sidelines rather than in the game. And that's the pattern. And what about the ones who went through art school? The ones who studied to know all the ways to look at a piece of artwork and judge it. Size, shape, form, color, all the objects that are within inside of it, how a piece of writing is made and done. And now, even with their art degree, they don't use it. They don't even make art anymore. These are other forms of shadow artistry. And this type of shadow artistry shows up in very specific ways. Here's 5 of them. And the first sign is that you champion everyone else's art or their healing practice and not your own. You leave nothing for yourself. And when someone asks you about your work or your own creative projects, you tend to deflect. Or if you show them your artwork, what's the thing that you show them? Usually the flaws, or the parts that you would do different next time, when they have yet to even absorb what it is that you're showing them. Now, here's what's happening underneath of that, is that you may support other people's work and you get to live inside of that energy of creation, yet you still remain unexposed to it. It's this exact thing that is keeping you playing small and in the shadows. Now, I want to say this carefully. If your only creative act is pouring your thanks, love, and appreciation and energy into helping others make their art, well, that's something for you to look at. And the question I want to ask you is, whose work are you promoting? And when was the last time you promoted your own work? Now, another sign that you're a shadow artist is that you know more about the practice, the technique, the healing modality than others who are practicing it. And this is where I said earlier, most don't quit, they just stop. Perhaps that's a sign for you to come back. Maybe not as a practitioner, perhaps as a teacher. And this person is also the same person who goes and gets more certificates. The one that says that I'm just not ready yet because they need to know more before they feel like they're ready to practice. What most people won't tell you is that the doing is the practice. You learn along the way. And if you're like me, I was tired of academia. I was tired of studying what everyone else had studied, learning from everyone else, from all the same teachers. And so I went looking for alternative teachers and things that you don't study in academia, which is how I ended up being a yoga teacher and finding myself doing hypnotherapy. And it's the most profound move that I've made as far as stepping out of my own shadow and sharing my own artistry in this way. And something that I've learned from being a yoga teacher over the years is that in order to remain a good teacher, you still got to take other classes. Now, the question I have to ask for this type of shadow artist is, are you using your knowledge to make things? Are you just consuming instead of creating? Are you consuming content about making or creating versus actually just creating? Or do you do this to explain why what you're dreaming in your head you haven't made yet? Are you using knowledge as a substitute for practice? You can know it in the intellect, yet practice is what makes the master. So are you using that to have a level of understanding without putting it into action, without making? And this leads me to the third sign, is that when you see someone else succeed, create the thing that you had thought about, that you feel loss or grief. And it shows up when someone publishes the book with the idea that you thought of years ago, or someone else launches a course that you designed back in 21, or someone builds the audience that you've imagined having, and you feel something. It's a certain bit of jealousy where they did the thing that you wish that you had done. Like something was supposed to be yours, but it just got claimed by somebody else. Now, I've had this happen to me many times because I am not the owner of ideas. Yet I also found if I acted on them, they were more likely to happen. Versus if I talked about them in detail with others, people would do more with it or take it in different directions or take the idea further than even I thought I could. And from my own experience, it was this feeling of heaviness sitting on my chest. And if you feel those type of stress signals, pay attention. And with your body awareness, you're able to tap more into what you're here to actually create. Now, the question I like to ask for this type of shadow artist is, what piece of work, if somebody else made it, would you have that feeling of regret, resentment, these types of negative emotions, that grief? Because that grief is a compass pointing you to what belongs to you. Now, the next sign that you are a shadow artist is that you have a very rich creative life in private. You make things, you just make sure that no one ever sees them. Now, this is the sign that most people recognize immediately. And then they try to reframe it. You know, they do things, they write in their journals that no one reads, they paint on canvases that no one sees or that face the wall or stack up in the corner. Now, you're generally creating, you're not blocked in the sense of having nothing to say. You're blocked at the point of transmission. And the beautiful part about this sign is that you're genuinely creating. You're not blocked as in trying to get through something creative. You're blocked at the point of transmission. And it's at that moment of being seen. The main point I want to make about this one is that art is about the connection between the artist and the world. And it's that beauty's in the eye of the beholder. It's that contact between the artist and the world. And unfortunately, art school has made more art critics than it has artists. So this is the type of person who makes private things, keeps them private. And this is that person who has the potential to do all of these things, yet they choose not to complete it or not to share it with the world. And in some cases, all of that criticism in art school comes into these deep-seated beliefs of I'm not good enough or my artwork's not good enough, whatever version of not enough. And now the last sign is you don't even call yourself an artist, even though everyone else around you knows how creative you are. And this label feels dangerous because it's the most telling sign of all. If someone asks you what you do, you list all the other things you do, except for what you are doing for creative work. And that's partly because most people ask that question in order to qualify, your role in life. Or a lot of us say that we are these things, like I am a chef, I am a teacher, I am. And someone gets into all those I am statements, realizing that the last on the list are the things that they talk about where they're creative. And this is that identity as an artist, allowing yourself to view yourself as creative, as a healer, as someone who has something to share with the world in order to make it a better place. to solve the problems that you find out there in the world. Now, claiming this identity is the first step. And this is something that Julia Cameron gets into in The Artist Way, where she says you are an artist when you decide you're an artist, not when the world says that you are. Well, I want you to do this right now as you walk with me. I want you to say, I am an artist. I am creative. I am a healer. And notice what happens in your body. Is there a reaction? Is there tension? Is there any clenching of muscles? Now that's the resistance. That's that small voice in the back of your head that says, but are you really? And that reaction is the whole sign that there's something more there to explore. When did you turn off your light? When was your light turned off for you? How can we turn it back on? And so there you have it. 5 signs, more than one of them probably landed, and it's not a verdict, it's more of a diagnosis, where 2 people are here sharing information and knowledge to see that being a shadow artist is different than being creatively blocked. So here's my invitation. Make the thing, show at least one person, and before the end of the week, call yourself an artist. That's the beginning, that's the first step to moving out of being a shadow artist. Drop in the comments which sign was yours, and I really do read them, so I'll tell you what I see. And if you want to go deeper, get back to your full creative ability, join me in the school community. All right, that's it for this one. Join me in the next one as I talk about the 3 moves that artists use to hide and how to couch yourself when you're in the middle of it. See you there.